Well, what is up everybody? Mr.Gsqrd here, and welcome to this informative video about Command & Conquer Rivals. This is the May 2019 balance updates and changes. We're going to go through this, we're going to read through everything, I'm going to offer my insight and opinion on these matters, and, feel free to leave a comment with what your thoughts are down below as well. So, without further ado, let's get started. Balance updates. May 1st, Commander. With the start of the new season, we are making some unit balance changes. Please see below for additional details. Fair enough. Alright. GDI, the Disruptor. With the change to the Disruptor, it can no longer hit the base twice. The structure damage has been increased to compensate. Damage against structures increased to 400 from 250, which is a 150 buff. And we have damage against vehicles increased to 13 from 10, which is a 3-point buff. So basically what this means is the Disruptor, if you didn't know, if you parked the Disruptor next to the enemy base and targeted the base, it went through technically 2 tiles of the base, so it did double damage to the base. You pair that with, Colonel Jackson, and boom, you've got a ton of base damage. Now, if you're looking at this mathematically, it's a nerf to that, which it is supposed to be, because that's just not right. The Disruptor shouldn't be able to blast through the base on 2 tiles. That's just ridiculous. So, yes, it's a nerf to that. However, it is increased, and you're going to get that increase from 2 tiles away. So it's actually, in my opinion, a significant buff. And it's probably going to promote a lot more Disruptor base melting builds. Especially with the additional damage to the vehicles, which I'm assuming is just to compensate and to get them on the field more, which I think it's going to do. If that was the goal of this, was to kind of nerf that to the new player, because it's not really what it's supposed to do, right? You're only supposed to be able to target one thing, and if the beam goes through a unit into the structure or into the attacking unit, then obviously it's going to do damage to that. Does that to the infantry, does that to vehicles, right? So, with that being said, I think those changes are fair. I think that the buff to the structure damage is significantly higher than it should be. I think 350 would have been fair, but, we'll see how it plays out. Let's check the Mammoth Tank out. Mammoth Tank. Giving the Mammoth Tank a bit more speed so it can reach the pads easier. Awesome. The Mammoth Tank, notoriously slow, especially compared to the Avatar. Now the Avatar, yeah, it's supposed to be faster. It's a little bit weaker, I believe, than the Mammoth Tank, but that's also because, those units they're meant to have pros and they're meant to have cons to each other. So let's see, what else does it do? It does a speed increase to 3.95, which is slow, from 3, which is the slowest. So you've almost got a full point more speed, so it's going to reach that point. It's going to reach wherever you're sending it a lot faster. And it's getting a damage increase, which I'm going to assume is just a base increase to most likely its main turret, not the missile, to the air. So you've got a damage increase to 2070 from 2000. So you've got a 70-point damage increase on that. Nice little buff. I think that's fair. Mammoth Tank, for how expensive it is, it doesn't do a significant amount of damage, and you can counter it fairly easy with, air, essentially. And yeah, that's pretty much its only true counter, as it just crushes the infantry, and it's supposed to peel through enemy armor. So really, this damage increase is warranted, in my opinion. I think that's a good change, and I'm excited to see more Mammoth Tank play from my opponents. I probably won't be playing it, but it'll be fun to go up against. Okay, Mg-Squad. that was English, right? Returning some of its power. Damage increased to 28 from 26. Another really good change, in my opinion. That is definitely needed. The Mg-Squad is a pretty decent point sitter. It's cheap. Infantry. It does not take. It's squad based, and I'm air quoting that, but it doesn't rely on that. Like its damage is its damage, no matter how much damage the unit has taken, right? And you can heal it up back to full health, which is like the only infantry that you can do that to. So giving it a little bit of damage, I think is right, because for its cost, for its speed, for its deployment time, it really doesn't do enough damage. It makes it so at your top tier level play, you don't see it very much. You see it on my channel every now and then, just because it's fun. I enjoy playing with the units, right? I like to mix it up and change it up and just play, right? I'm not making these to be like super competitive. Yes, I'm on what is that? The Rival League teams, the RLT. I am on an RLT, but I just do it for fun, right? That's why I'm here. That's why I do it and what I enjoy. So, Gsqrd, I'm excited to see that. I am definitely going to be trying another Gsqrd build out as soon as I can. Alright, let's move on down here to the MLRS. With the change to how Jacksons affect reload units, we felt comfortable giving some power back to the MLRS. Reload speed reduced to 6 from 6.5. That's actually pretty significant. We'll probably see the MLRS come back into a lot of meta based on that, because the reload speed was huge on that. I mean, if you guys remember the old meta a couple months ago, might have even only been 1 month ago, I still have the build, and I still use it every now and then. Colonel Jackson, you drop your War Dogs. Your build was, let me see if I can remember this right. You got War Dogs, you got Pitbull, you got MLRS, you got Shockwaves. In my opinion, it's up to you for the other 2 units, right? I ran Orca and Hammerhead. Some people ran, Talon, because it's cheap. This deck was designed for early, mid, and late game, which was what made it so powerful, right? It was a good, strong deck against everything because of those MLRSs. So you're going Talon for your anti-air and your infantry harassing. And then you've also got a Missile Squad for just generic large anti-tank. You could probably swap that out with the Grenadier Squad nowadays, but back then the Grenadiers just weren't in existence yet. So who knows? We'll probably see something change with that, which will be awesome. Alright, the Orca Bomber. Let's see here. With the release of the Slingshot, we gave the Orca Bomber some health back, but have increased its cost. Health increased to 1950 from 1700. Cost increased to 110 from 100. Oh. Okay, well, reading that, I don't like that change. I think that is a significant buff to the already really powerful Orca Bomber for 10 Tiberium, right? Now, sure, that 10 Tiberium, it adds up over time. You're talking about a 100 cost unit going to 110. We saw what that did to the Inferno, which is essentially what this is, right? If I remember correctly, the last update, it did this to the Inferno. It increased its health and increased its cost. So I was like, fine, I still use the Inferno. I still love the Inferno. I think it's great. The Orca Bomber, in my opinion, is already slightly overpowered. I think it had too much health. I'll give you an example. I have a level 10 Phantom, right? So the Phantom hits I have a level 11 Phantom. I went up against a match against one of my Alliance members. He had a level 11 Orca Bomber. Now, his Orca Bomber did have the 3 upgrades applied to it. He just didn't have enough cards to get it into level 12. My Phantom took that down to where you could, spit on the unit and it would die. But he didn't kill it, which I have a problem with that. Like, the Orca Bomber wasn't... I mean, if you look back at the old game, right, the Orca Bomber was not that strong. That Phantom, a 100 cost Phantom, 100 cost Orca Bomber, nearly identical levels, right? You've got like a 30-40 hit point difference, was enough to keep it alive. And I don't know about this one. I think that that's going to result in a little bit more favorable Orca Bomber builds, which I already think the Orca Bomb is a little bit overpowered. You know, you don't see it at extreme high level play because of its levels right now. And that's what I really think. I think that if the players had, like, level, like, we're talking, you know, Alicia, Blade, Suzuki, Terror, Battaglia, Real Sud, Star, you know, those high tier players like that, I honestly think if they had an equal leveled Orca Bomber, they would consider putting that in their deck, because the cost is higher, but you got a lot of DPS, you essentially got a pad clearing unit, and it's got good health, right? And it's not slow. It's pretty quick. I think it's fast, if I remember right. It's not... Maybe it's average. I don't know if there's an average, but I think it's in between slow and fast, whatever that one's called. Right, so... I'm just not sure about the Orca Bomber. We'll see what it does. Maybe it'll balance out. Who knows? But I am pretty disappointed that my Phantoms are never going to one-shot an Orca Bomber now. They're going to slow it down, sure. They won't kill it. I'm going to have 2 Phantoms on the field to deal with that. With that being said, I don't know if the Stealth Tank is going to be able to handle it either. A Stealth Tank should still be able to one-shot that. I don't know what the base damage to a Stealth Tank is compared to an Orca Bomber, but we'll see, right? I'm sure I'll come up against it in an odd match, so we'll find out. Let's move on. Strong Arm. Strong Arm turret was changed a while ago to scale with the HP per level. We reduced the base HP to readdress that fact. Turret health now reduced to 2,400 from 3,000. That is a significant change to Strong Arm, right? She's, in my opinion, she's like basically the meta right now, right? She's the one that you're playing. That turret is still strong. They're not reducing its attack damage, which is good, but the reduced cost of the health means 2 things, right? It's going to... I don't know if it's timed. I'm trying to think now. I think it is timed. I think it loses a percentage of health at a certain rate until it dies, right? So it's gonna affect it a lot. So you drop that right on 2 Flame Trooper squads. Now, me playing, I would leave it there and I would kill it because Flame Troopers shockwaves do a lot of damage against it. But now they're gonna kill it even faster. And if you're just trying to distract them, like is what I typically try and use it for, is a quick distraction so my other units can go in and deal with the actual unit that is attacking the turret. It's not going to be as useful for that anymore because it's going to take damage and die much faster. I don't really agree with that. I think Strong Arm is arguably the best commander in the game. Of course, I think... You know, that's my opinion, right? A lot of people argue that, oh, what's that commander's name? I can never remember it. It's, Oxana. A lot of players argue that Oxana is by far the best commander in the game. I truly feel like Seth is one of the best commanders in the game. I really believe that Kane is the best commander. That Obelisk is still real powerful. Yeah, it costs a lot, but you're one-shot units left and right. Especially if you can get it in a real good tactical position. Now, Seth is really good because you get a Flame Trooper squad, right? He's the only commander that drops a true unit on the battlefield, which is great. Strong Arm, definitely up there with that, because she's a good blocking unit. She can counter, and it's useful for distractions, right? This change, I don't think is warranted. I think Strong Arm should have been left where she was. She is probably the most played GDI commander, but that's also because of the way all the units are geared right now. It's geared to her. With all these other changes, this is probably going to re-gear it, especially with this one. It's probably going to re-gear it back to Dr. Lang or Solomon builds. In all honesty, and that's what I really believe. I'm probably going to be going back to Lang and MG squads now with what it is, just because, well, I also enjoyed playing that, so we'll see. But I do not agree with the strong arm change, but we'll see what becomes of it, right? All right, let's move on. Moving on to Nod. Oh boy, let me grab a drink here real quick. Before we get to talking about Nod, let's see what we got though. We got artillery. Alright, so what's different about the artillery? Well, they're faster, attack speed, and projectile speed will allow the artillery to more consistently hit targets without missing. Which is really, really important. So let's read what they changed with it. Attacks per second increase to 3.2 from 4.25. That is a huge change. That's over a 1 point change to attack speed. That's major. Projectile speed increased to 80 from 50. Also a huge increase. That's 330. That is 30 points into the projectile speed. Let's talk about artillery for a second. I think these changes are great. I think Nod artillery is not used enough. In Tiberium Sun, when Nod artillery was introduced, it was great. I used it all the time when I played Nod in Tib Sun. Now, my problem with the Nod artillery in Command & Conquer Rivals is that it has to turn. The artillery unit should not have to turn like that. Not the way that it was truly designed, and if it followed the game lore, right? Now, that's my opinion. I also never played Command & Conquer 4 at all, so maybe the artillery unit was changed. But as far as what I think it's based off of in Tiberium Sun, I don't think the artillery is built properly in this game. I think that it should be deployed. It should have the furthest range in the game, as it did in the classic Command & Conquer games, but I don't think it should need to turn. I think that turret should turn, very similar to the Juggernaut, which the Juggernaut, this is a big if, right? If I remember my lore correctly, the Juggernaut was built in answer to the Nod artillery. Much stronger unit, not quite as long a range, but it can take that damage getting up to it, deploy, and destroy it. If I remember the lore right, that was the base idea behind it. Now, that's not how it is in this game. The Juggernaut is pretty weak. Doesn't take a lot of damage. It takes a significant amount. It's a fairly mid-level unit. I don't think it's properly built either. I think it's far too expensive for what it's doing. And I think setup time is just a little bit too long. I think if you reduce the setup time, drop its Tiberium down 10, maybe 20, it would be more used, right? But it's not, and we'll see. So, good changes to the artillery for the Nod. I don't think the artillery is there yet. I would like to see it not need to rotate. And then I would probably use it. Full, honestly. Like, I would love to use the Nod artillery unit. That is the one unit in Nod tech that I would love to use all the time. Every build. I would probably change the Inferno for it if it didn't have to rotate. Because it shouldn't, right? It's a strong unit. It's supposed to be a strong unit, and it's supposed to be a support unit and a defensive unit. And when you have to constantly rotate it like it's some sort of World War II anti-tank gun, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But as far as this goes, this change is a good change. I think it's going in the right direction, getting Nod artillery the love and the respect that it deserves. Well, let's move on. Moving into the Avatar. Health was increased to make up for the significantly reduced speed. Health increased to 6,200 from 5,800. Good change for the Avatar, right? It's a buff. It's good. It needs it. Because when that speed got broken, all the Avatar play stopped. Now, I think that needed to change, and in all honesty, I think its damage needs to be reduced as well. If the health increased, fine. That's fair, right? It's a really expensive unit, but it does so much damage. It's a raider. Its attack speed is so fast. Just reduce it a little bit, and I think it'll be a great balanced unit at that point. But this is definitely a good change for it. I think it's going to overpower it slightly. this change is good. I think that this change without the damage reduction is not a good change. So I guess I just changed that. Overall, I don't like this. I would like this if something was nerfed on it. But because it wasn't, I think it's going to overpower it. I think we're going to see a lot more Avatar play again because of this. But, you know, let's go down and see what else we got. Chem Warriors. This was added to the game in a previous patch, but is being included with these notes. Damage increase, or damage against vehicles increased 15 from 7. So apparently it's been like this for a while. Doesn't look like they told us. I don't remember reading that anywhere else, but damage to the Chem Warriors increased. I remember a long time ago, a few months back in, boy, it was definitely September, October of 2018 when they nerfed the Chem Warriors big time, right? The Chem Warriors, they used to be so OP. You could take down a Rhino or a buggy with Chem Warriors at one point in the game. Their damage to vehicles was like 45, and they nerfed it down to like 7, like basically what it is. It's good to see that they're increasing that a little bit, because I think that the nerf that they gave them a while ago to vehicle damage was ridiculously over nerf, right? They're gonna do damage to vehicles. It's chemical spraying on the vehicle. They're an expensive unit. They should be able to do a little bit more damage to vehicles, so I think this change is really good. I think their overall hit points could use a little bit of a base reduction, so that way you're like your aircraft, your anti-infantry aircraft could take them down a little bit easier, because it's super hard to actually take those guys down, which it should be. They're a very expensive unit, but at the same time you don't see like that problem with grenadiers, right? You walk an anti-infantry unit up to a grenadier, they take it down. Well, the Chem Warriors cost the same, right? They're both a 60 cost unit, but your Chem Warriors don't fall very easily to anti-infantry units. True, they're a better anti-infantry unit than everything else, as they should be on the defense, but I think if they're charging into like a rifle squad, they should take some pretty good damage, and they just don't. So I think a little bit of health reduction would be good for them as well. But good to see them getting a little love. I think that a little bit of a nerf to their overall HP would really balance them out and make them a good balanced unit as well. But you know what? I don't make the... I don't know, they don't ask my opinion for this, so... we'll see what happens, though. That's just my opinion. We'll see. All this is just my opinion, really. I'm sure you guys know that, though. Oh no, I see the Phantom down there. I hope it's a buff, too. Alright, let's talk about the flame tank here for a second, after I take another quick drink of water. Whew, okay. Sorry, doing a lot of talking here recently. I've been talking for like the last 2 hours, not to my phone or anything, just on the phone. And now I decided to make this video, so... but you know what, nobody cares about that. Let's talk about the flame tank. General buff to the flame tank. Damage against infantry increased to 380 from 300. I'm not sure why they need that. 300 is great against infantry. I think the flame tank against infantry is already powerful enough, but I guess they just want it to really melt through them. And damage against vehicles increased to 72 from 50. That I think is very fair. Spewing hot fire onto a vehicle is, you know, definitely not good for it. So, giving them a little bit of vehicle damage, great. Giving them a little bit of infantry damage, I think is... I mean, it makes sense. If you're going to increase the damage to vehicles, it would definitely increase damage to infantry. Like, speaking logically. Speaking balance-wise, I don't know if it really needs it. I think they did great against infantry. I don't think they needed to do more. But, yeah, I don't really see why that change is necessary, because you're just going to make them, like, drive up and blast an infantry for, like, half a second, and the infantry is going to be dead. So the defending infantry might get 1 or 2 shots in. It's basically going to be immediately run when you see a flame tank, and hope you have an Orca or an Inferno to come in and answer it, or an Avatar or a Mammoth tank, because it's going to do some extra damage against all your other vehicles now. Which I also feel is actually fairly lore friendly, right? If you ever played Command & Conquer 1 or the Dawn of Tiberium in 95, flame tanks were actually really, they were decent against tanks, right? The original flame tank, you could have, I still play the game, right? I still play a lot of Command & Conquer, but I just played a game the other day and I had a little flame tank army, right? I had like 5 or 6 flame tanks in my army, right? And they were actually out by themselves because I ran some infantry down with them. And this mammoth tank comes creeping out. I'm like, you know what? I got I pretty much had the game in the bag. I was just playing against the AI anyway. So I drive 5 or 6 flame tanks up to a mammoth tank, and it died. It killed one of my flame tanks, right? So they should be doing a little bit more damage to vehicles. I think the change is good as far as vehicle damage goes. Logically, it makes complete sense to give it an infantry buff. Game-wise, as far as true balance act, trying to keep one unit from being so overpowered that everyone just builds it and nothing else, I don't think it's a good change as far as the infantry damage goes. I think it's a great change to give it a little bit more damage to vehicles, because it's an expensive unit too. It should do a little bit more. It shouldn't just drive up and in, like, basically a pit bull. One pit bull should not be able to kill a flame tank, and this is going to fix that. It's not going to be able to anymore. You're going to have 2 or maybe even 3, which is good, because that's how it should be. Let's move on. Phantom. The Phantom has potential to be too efficient. Well, I kind of already went over that. To have the same cost as the Hammerhead. Increase the cost of the Phantom 110 from 100. What are you guys doing? I think this is a terrible change. I think this is going to kick Phantom out completely now. Sure, it's still going to be great against Talons, Orcas, Banshees, drones, both not and GDI drones. The helicopter. What's the other helicopter unit? The Chinook. I don't know what it's called though. The Mohawk gunship, right? The Mohawk. It's going to be great against all those. But when you're talking bringing the Phantom out against the Hammerhead now, sure, the Phantom's going to win because you're going to blast and kite away. But now you're spending more for that, and you're not going to be one-shotting an Orca bomber anymore. But you will still one-shot an Inferno on the same level. I don't think that is right. I think that the Phantom's damage should be increased if the cost is going to be increased as well. Just slightly. Not enough to one-shot a Hammerhead for sure. Definitely not enough to one-shot a Hammerhead, but it should buff the damage enough to one-shot an Orca bomber if you're going to increase the cost as well. That would balance it out, truly, in my opinion. But, you know what, maybe I'm a little biased in that, but I really don't think so, because you don't ever want your Phantom to be able to one-shot a Hammerhead. Maybe you could balance it out by just saying, and the Phantom is going to do extra damage to only the Orca bomber to give like-level units Orca bomber one-shot ability, right? Because I think it should be able to one-shot an Orca bomber. Even if I was using the Orca bomber and I see a Phantom, I'd be bolting the other way anyway, because I would expect it to kill it. The Phantom is such a powerful anti-air unit. Same with the Hammerhead. The Hammerhead should be able to two-shot an Orca bomber. I don't think it will anymore either. Let's move on now. Rockworm. The Rockworm has issue reaching its target on time. Speed increased to 4.5 from 3.959. That's a weird speed that it had. That is a good change. I also think that the... Oh god, the stealth tank's down here too. Great. I also think that it would be fair to give the Rockworm a buff to its burrow time. as well. It takes so long for that stinking thing to burrow. At least initially, right? The initial first burrow of it, I think, should be faster. I think that when your rockworm comes out, it should come out underground, unless you... no, that wouldn't be that good either. I think it should come out and begin to burrow and move one tile forward, in all honesty. Because, yeah, that speed is super important. The fact that your rockworm just spawns right outside your building and you have to wait for it to burrow and then slowly crawl over to the point is what the complaint is. The increased speed, definitely going to go in the right direction. But the fact that, like, you look at this from, again, a little bit of logical standpoint, right? You build a rockworm. It's not going to be the tail underground and the upper half sticking out. The thing would come out face first and go straight into the ground, right? That's what it should do. Even if you just said initial burrow time of rockworm is going to be like, 50% faster. Great. That's great. I don't think it should do that every single time. Just when you build it and send it to whatever destination you send it to first, then it'll pop out of the ground, then it'll have to go back down and do its reburrow. I think that would be fair. I think this is a really good change, though. I used to play the rockworm a lot when I first started playing the game. I like the rockworm. It's a good, strong unit. It doesn't get enough love, and it should. It's a very cool unit, and I think that this change is really good and should get it some more gameplay time, which is great. Ideally, like let's talk about this for a second too before we go down and see if they broke my stealth tank. Ideally, you want every unit to be able to counter multiple other units and be countered by multiple other units while still maintaining cost, speed, damage taken. That is damage taken and damage given, of course. Which makes it hard. So, like, you want these units to be good. You don't want them to be so good that they kill every single unit no matter what. But you need to take... What needs to happen is especially when new units are introduced, right? You've got to look at it and say, okay, what can easily kill this unit? What can this unit easily kill? What's going to be a good, strong match against this unit? Like, what's going to happen if Unit A, or new unit, or Unit A meets Unit B, and those two are a good fight against each other? In theory, they should be able to drive up to each other, walk up, whatever you want to say, and then immediately, after their little exchange, kill each other, right? Like your tanks. So you've got a Predator and a Scorpion, they drive up together at the same time. They literally kill each other. That's good. That's balanced. That means those two units are the perfect fight against each other. So then all you have to say is, okay, what kills them, and what do they kill? And you have to do that with every single unit in the arsenal, right? And that's what makes it truly balanced in the game. You have to be able to do that. So with that theory in mind, you should be able to take a rockworm and a titan, move them into each other, and them kill each other. Sure, you're going to have... And eventually you have to have a little bit of difference, right? Maybe the titan should kill the rockworm. Maybe the rockworm should be able to kill the titan. I don't know. That's something that needs to be discussed, and you have to bring all the other units into that equation too. Like, okay, so their cost is different. This one kills this. How can we make this unit then? Like, let's say the Titan kills the rockworm. Okay. Then where do we make the Titan weaker? Do we make it take extra damage from, say, missile squads? And maybe the rockworm doesn't take that extra damage. Maybe there's a softer unit counter to the rockworm if it's equally cost and equal. If it's equal unit on the GDI side, being the Titan is able to kill it, right? So let's go back to... I think I'm making sense here. It's making sense to me. If it's not making sense to you, that's fine. Maybe I'll go on more of a rant and tirade about that at the end. Let's just move on for now. Stealth tank. Oh, excuse me, that was weird. Putting stealth tank back to a middle ground between its previous form and its current form. Stealth tank reload time increased to 11 from 10. That's a fair change, I would say. I would say, sure, you can increase it a little bit. What we should not see change about the stealth tank is its damage, its speed. Its stealth time could probably be reduced maybe by a second, maybe make it 4 instead of 5. I think that would be okay. But its speed and its damage and its health should not be changed. The reload time increase, okay. I think they're making a stealth tank change. In my opinion, they're making a stealth tank change because the community is complaining about them. And I really don't know why. Stealth tank is such a powerful unit. It costs 90 Tiberium. It will one-shot almost every single air unit with the exception of the Kodiak and the Basilisk, right? At an even level, which is really good, and it should do that because the stealth tank was designed to be an anti-air and an anti-vehicle unit. That's what it is. It's terrible versus infantry, and we know that, and it should be terrible versus infantry. The stealth tank is being complained about because it's essentially a ground orca. Right, it's an orca bomb, or a standard orca with the 4 volley rockets that is sitting there on the ground and can drive around and be cloaked. And it's fast, right? It's a little bit, actually it's the same speed as the orca if I remember right. The orca has its advantage because it's flying. The stealth tank has its advantage because it's not detectable by the orca. So, in this instance, with those balances that I was just talking about, that's actually a very, very carefully thought out and balanced unit, and people don't like it. And I don't really understand why, but if you take an orca and you put it on a point, this is why they don't like it in all honesty. If you take an orca and you put it on a point, and you take a stealth tank and you drive it up to the orca, they will kill each other. Now, that's if your stealth tank is cloaked. Now, if you fly an orca up to a stealth tank sitting there, the stealth tank will kill the orca and not even take a point of damage. That's what people don't like. Because the stealth tank has its cloaking ability for on the ground, it and the orca will trade for each other. When your orca attacks the stealth tank, it loses. When the stealth tank attacks the orca, they tie. That is because of the stealth. That's not because of an oversight. The orca has its advantage because it's a flying unit. There's only a handful of units in the entire game that can target it. And there are literally 3 units in the game that cannot target the stealth tank. Phantom, Hammerhead, Slingshot. Those are the only 3 units in the game that cannot hit a stealth tank. Sure, your rifle squad's gonna do useless, no damage against it. But that's the difference between them. They're very balanced, they're very fair. I hope that this squishes everybody's griping about the stealth tank. Because I use them both, right? You guys see me use them both. You see me play against them both on this channel. On this channel, I use a stealth tank, and on this channel, I use an orca. And you can look back at some of the videos, some of the gameplay. When you see my orca against a stealth tank, I pull my orca out of there, and I get a missile squad on him. You have to be able to play and understand and adapt to your opponent's playing. You don't hear people complaining about the orca because it's a weak unit, right? It's not strong. The only reason they're complaining about the stealth tank, in my opinion, is because they're losing to it and they don't have an answer for it. When you have answers versus the Orca and the Phantom and the Hammerhead, because they peel through the Orca. There's all the vehicles, all the anti-tank vehicles, such as the Scorpion, the Rhino, not the Rhino, the Scorpion and the Predator, they'll peel through stealth tanks. If you put them up against each other, they'll beat the stealth tank, and they're supposed to. The stealth tank is basically the Orca of the ground. You're supposed to drive up, hit something, and drive away. And that's what people do. That's what people don't like. If the Orca had stealth ability, it would be super, super OP too, and people would be complaining about it. So, this change, I don't agree with it. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous that people aren't thinking about it. They're just losing and complaining, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me what your opinion is. If you disagree with this kind of stuff, feel free to comment it down below. We can talk about it. Hit me up on my Discord server. We'll chat. I mean, I'm always up to chat about this. Like I said, I just play it to have fun. But I want to actually have fun because the game is balanced. I want to have fun because the game is fair. It's a fair experience, right? And sometimes it isn't, and that's why these changes come in. Some of these changes I think are ridiculous. Some of them I think are great, and I can't wait to see them. But you know what? We'll see what it does. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and this change is going to be perfect. But as of just reading this, I think it's a little ridiculous. Alright, General. Harvester bounty reduced from 100 to 80. They attempted to make this change once before, and it was only for like a month that it stuck around, because people didn't like it. I liked it. I thought it was a good change. I think getting 100 Tiberium for a Harvester kill is a little excessive. I think 80 is a good number. I don't think it should be any lower. I think, maybe make it 90, who cares? I think it's great. I like that change. I think it causes you, and the reason I like it is because it causes you to be more responsible with your economy. If you're able to just drive up and destroy a Harvester, like early game, as long as you're responsible with that extra money you get, you're essentially going to win, right? Because your opponent can't catch up. This should make it so where your opponent can still catch up. You just get a little bit more, not a ton more. I think that's great. I think that's fair. Should be like that. Let's see what else we get. Changes to the missile charge time. And I did actually read about this one earlier. I think I talked about it in my video that I just posted. Change the missile charge time. This should give early game players an easier way to pressure their opponent, but also allow for late game players to have more time to mount a counterattack if they successfully delay the game until the third missile. This is actually really, really huge, what has changed here. I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it. As far as this goes, I think this is the biggest change. And I'm not lying here. I think this is the biggest change in this game so far. The missile charge times, because it has always been 45 seconds for one, 45 seconds for the second, and then it drops to 30 for the third. So even if you've got a good competitive game going the entire time, if that second missile goes off and you start to lag behind in the slightest, you're gonna lose. And it's like they're saying, late game players are going to be much more dangerous. Double Harvester players are going to be much more dangerous. One of the guys in my alliance, BH Man, he is a late game player, and he's always in the top 100 players. He does such a good job at double Harvester plays, at both GDI and NOD. This change is going to make his win rate increase like probably 10 to 20%, He's always at least at 60%. Most of the time he's around 70. He's probably going to be an 80 to 90% win rate player because of this. Sure, your first missile is going to go off faster. Yeah, your second missile is going to go off faster. True double harvester players have their harvesters out in time, and they know how to delay the first and second missile enough that by the time the third missile rolls around, they'll get the second missile. By the time the third rolls around, you're not even going to have a chance at getting it unless you do very strategic point swings. So this is going to be big. This is going to be a very, very big change. I mean, that last match that I played lasted much longer because of that. So we'll see. You know, I'm excited to see this. I think that this is going to cause more players to go double harvester. Honestly, I like that. I like playing one harvester, but I do enjoy going up against opponents that are doing two. One thing I'm disappointed about, in all honesty, is the Sandstorm. No change to that. I think that unit is way overpowered. It's not supposed to be that strong. Like in Tiberium Sun, when I forget what it was called in Tib Sun, but it was called like the hover tank or something, something weird. It was very, very fragile. I don't think it's fragile enough. I think it needs a health decrease to make it really balanced, right? It should be doing the amount of damage that it does. I just think maybe 2 to 3 shots from a Scorpion or a Predator tank should kill it. I think it's got way too much hit point. And an Obelisk should one-shot it as well. I'm probably going to get some grief for that one, but if you look at the game, Obelisk, if you look at Tib Sun, Obelisk tanks, they rip through those. Like, it shouldn't be as strong as it is in this game. Maybe it should even... honestly, I think it should be bumped down from a tech unit. Like, I think that if you... maybe this is the answer they need, now that I'm thinking about this. I think if you bump down the Sandstorm, lower its cost, lower its hit points, tremendously lower its hit points, you could argue that that is the GDI need against the stealth tank. It could be the GDI version of the stealth tank, which it essentially was, right? Like, it was really strong missiles against air and against vehicles, and it was just very fragile. It was pretty weak. Let's see what else we got. Added a change to lock on units only fire if locked on for at least 25 sec or 0.25 seconds. Okay. Lock on units include Predator tank, Scorpion tank, Tick tank. A really good change there. I have been dying for something like this. This is also going to break that heavy tank stack meta that has been so popular for so long, right? So basically what this means is when you drive your Scorpion tank up and your Cyber Wheels up, or your Predator tank and your War Dogs, and you manage to get the opponent's tank to target your Cyber Wheels or your War Dogs, and your tank is targeting theirs, they can't just let their charge build up and quick swing their tank around to hit yours, which is good. I really like this change. It makes it so you have to be more tactical with your tactical retreating. You're not just going to be able to quick click and get your unit to target what you want and get it to fire. Very good change. I think that change is long overdue, and it's going to be good. Alright, let's check the dev note. And we're done. This is it, the dev note. Attack bike missile speed now consistent regardless of distance. Okay, so basically, if I'm reading that right, it's basically saying that, I think I had one video, at least it's happened a few times, where the attack bikes will fire And if you've got like an air unit, like a hammerhead or something, you can just like kind of kite the missiles around the entire map as they follow your unit, and potentially even get another shot off with your unit when you shouldn't. So that's actually very good. It's a good change, good for them to make, as it's just going to make it what it should be, right? Fixed bug where MG squads was not crushable by Mammoth Tank. That is very good that they fixed that. I noticed that in one of my videos that I did, where I had MG squads sitting on a point, and a Mammoth Tank came up, and I'm sitting there like, well, I'm gonna lose. And the Mammoth Tank just drove around him. Like, slowly drove around him, barely did any damage to him, and my MG squads eventually killed it. I was like, well, okay, that is weird. Why didn't he crush my units? And I thought it was a bug where you had to, like, tell the Mammoth Tank to crush them. It turned out it was a bug that they just weren't even crushable. So, fair, very, very fair, and very valid change, as it should be. Do I like it? No, but it should be like that, so that's very good. Very, very good. So the MG squad got its buff, and it's also now crushable. But, you know, that's it. Those are the unit changes to the game. Now, I do know that there were changes to the map pools as well, for, I believe, Bronze League, Master League, and Tib League, or Tiberium League. I think they changed those 3 sets of map pools. Long overdue, really, for the Master League. Hopefully it's, you know, much better now. And, because by far the Master League was the most universally hated map pool in the game. Like, I didn't like half the maps. I didn't like half the maps in the Tib League this year either. Or this month, last month either. I don't know what they are. Hopefully they're awesome. So, but you know what? We'll find out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you have your own opinions about this, and if you would like to share them on this channel, feel free. If you want to share them over on my Discord server, feel free to pop in and start up a conversation. If you want to share them on the Rivals Discord itself, make sure you pop in there and start chatting it up. Everybody in there is pretty talkative, pretty friendly, and you know, everybody has their own opinion. So let me know what yours is. Let me know what change you like. Let me know what changes you think need to be made. Let me know, you know, whatever. What you thought of this. But you know, that is going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please let me know, honestly, if you enjoyed this, whether you agreed with me or disagreed. If you did enjoy this video, let me know. Because the next time we do balance updates and changes like this, I'll make another one if I get some good feedback from it. If not, you know, this might be the only one that you ever see. But regardless, let me know what you guys thought. I appreciate it, and I will see you all later. Bye-bye.